So that was one of our key findings, is the notion that these blind spots exist with regard to some of these moral or ethical issues. And the question I have about that is, are there certain features of online environments that dull our sensitivity to some of those moral or ethical concerns? So I think that there are different qualities of online environments that can pose difficulties in the extent to which young people are thinking about moral and ethical issues. I think that the distance between ourselves and others online, the fact that we're operating from behind a screen, doesn't allow us to fully put a human face on how what we're doing is received on the other end. And so I think that can be problematic. It requires some abstract thinking in the minds of a person making an action online to imagine the effects on another individual. And so I think distance, that arm's length quality of online life, can get in the way of doing moral and ethical thinking. I think that opportunities to act anonymously can also pose some positive opportunities for young people who may not feel like they can gain support around issues if they're coming out, or if they're struggling with an embarrassing medical condition that they don't want to go public with. I think the opportunity to anonymously participate in an online supportive community can be tremendous. However, anonymity can also be used to engage in an array of harmful activities, in hate speech, disrespectful behavior towards others. And so I think that quality of the opportunity to act anonymously can in fact cut both ways, as some of these qualities can. I think that the other features of online life, such as the fact that the internet is composed of networked publics, so that our actions are scalable there, we can reach a broad audience. Dana Boyd talks about the persistence, the replicability, and the searchability of content online, the fact that everything sticks and it's searchable and it can spread very quickly. I think those qualities raise the stakes around the things that we do online. So kids today are growing up in a world in which they will make mistakes, as all of us did growing up, and it's a natural part of identity and moral development to do so. But the stakes attached to those mistakes are so much higher today because there's a persistent record of the things that they do online, and that's something for all of us to be aware of. The people around young people trying to scaffold their development into ethical young citizens. Yeah, I think we did, and I think the one thing I want to say is that some of the youth we interviewed who were deeply invested in particular online activities, and these are activities that some people refer to as interest-based activities, where they're pursuing a hobby or a deep interest in fan fiction, or they're a participant in an online music forum because they really care about music or sports cars or whatever that very niche interest might be. They're playing that out in an online community, and they're deeply invested in that community. And we found that those young people, bloggers too, I'll add to that category, were really much more attuned to some of these moral and ethical issues. And as well as, some gamers who were very committed to massive multiplayer online games. They were committed to being a part of this, saw themselves as citizens of these communities. So that suggests to me that investment in some of these online spaces that some adults dismiss as a waste of time because they're not tied to some of the traditional goals we want for young people to be focusing on. It's not clear what they're learning and gaining from those environments. Those are the environments where we may be seeing more moral and ethical thinking, and those are the kinds of online activities we want to support, whereas youth involved in the much more sort of friendship-driven socializing activities did not appear to be thinking in those moral or ethical ways in the same way as the more committed and invested, interest-driven youth. I think that educators and parents and other adults who are really involved in helping young people be successful citizens and individuals in their lives need to be much more aware of their participation in online communities, both the trouble spots as well as the really promising activities they're engaged in. And so the more that they can be a part of that, as much as young people in their lives will allow them to be, then I think the better for everyone to really validate some of those activities. The media scholar Henry Jenkins says, you know, parents shouldn't be looking over kids' shoulders, but they should have their backs, which I think is a really nice way of putting it. It's not the idea of surveillance, but it's about really supporting and being a support for some of those activities, and also being there in case trouble arises and difficult questions emerge. Young people need more opportunities to reflect on their values and reflect on who they are as a moral person. I think that we found in our interviews that that all the young people we interviewed have moral values, that they care about other people, they care about the wider world, but I think sometimes they leave that behind. So I think they need more opportunities to reflect back on the things that they care about and on their identities as an individual, their moral identities. And particularly online, perhaps they need prompts to do so, maybe from individuals, maybe from sites we can design that provide those prompts for people to reflect on their values and who they are, and if they can pass the mirror test, they can look in the mirror and feel good about the way they've behaved.